Hello to Jerry Show, and today we talk about TV series called Narcos Mexico. Those who are familiar with Netflix recent series, given the last few years, you're probably already familiar with the TV series called Narcos. Meanwhile, Narcos focused solely around Colombian cocaine cartels, mainly Pablo Escobar, but also other cartels. Narcos Mexico is obviously kind of a spin-off of this magnificent crime drug series. This time, however, it's, like the name implies, all about Mexico. Also, the drugs involved are marijuana, not so much cocaine, but be assured it's also right there. Now, the basic idea with Narcos Mexico is very much like Narcos. It's about drugs, it's about drug war, American law enforcement entangled with, Mexican crime cartels and the Mexican drug business, obviously. And it's also kind of a Spanish spoken, also English, of course, but it's like two cultures clashing with each other and also very reality based. Today I'm gonna give you 5 points why should you watch Narcos Mexico, at least in my opinion. Now I have some keywords listed, so just don't mind me altering a little bit here. Now I was a big fan and still am a big fan of Narcos series because in my opinion it was great way of telling about historical people, historical events, and these so-called drug wars, which are still very much there. Just key people change over time, obviously, but it's still right there in the very problem. They're criminal organizations creating drugs for just every normal people out there, and the main target area, market area, if you will, is obviously United States of America. So this ongoing battle of swords between crime cartels and American law enforcement, sorry for that, is still there very much. And because the average Joe or Jane is still buying those drugs, it probably never will go away. But this is about history. This is not so much about the current year of 2019 or even 2018. This is very much about 80s, how things got started, how things got big, and why certain powers that be came into this political play, but also how these certain criminals got in the mismatch, whatever, with American police, how things went south, and how this all became a big thing in the first place. In my opinion, the original Naga series was very good because it wasn't about just about police and law enforcement being the good guys and then just giving this kind of a distant image of the crooks, being criminals and evil masterminds and all that stuff. It gave kind of a humane side of both people. It's not like it tried to make these criminals not being criminals and not understanding that they were doing kind of bad things. Obviously that was never the case. It is clear that while these criminals just wanted to make money, they were also ruthless and brutal, and the same kind of idea still is very valid with Narcos Mexico. The criminals in the series are still as ruthless as in original Narcos series, and also the police is kind of a helpless compared to original Narcos series and the criminals, and it's also very clear that there's lots of corruption. And this actually brings me one of the main things why and reasons why this series is worthwhile. But let's get on going with my list of ideas, which in my opinion are the reasons why you should be watching Narcos Mexico. Still currently it's only one season out. Season number 2 is coming out at some points, maybe 2020, I don't know, maybe 2019 even. But so far, at least, I haven't read anything about specific date, but it's coming and it's cool because the series actually, um, it's kind of a cliffhanger, or at least a good ending for the season number one. But here are the 5 reasons. So one of the main things, in my opinion, and the reason number one would be it's very authentic. Um, the feeling of actual Mexico is right there with the people, with the culture, with the music. Everything seems to be in place, and also that unlike so many TV series prior to these two, the people are speaking Spanish. Of course, not for the American ones so much, but the thing is, the authenticity is very much there with the language. So when there are like Mexican people, they are speaking Spanish. When there's American law enforcement involved, they speak English. Makes very much sense. And this is just one layer of all this authenticity of the series. So in my opinion, it's one of the key elements why you should be watching this. The second thing is that this is based on real characters, real events, real places. From the cities such as Guadalajara or the people involved, it seems to be that it's right on point. There are, documentary images to back this up. Not so much as with the original Nagas, but still, nevertheless, they are right there. And this is, in my opinion, a very important factor of the series and its magic. Because if everything was just fiction, it would be just easy to, think that, oh yeah, this is just another crime story. Oh, these things will not happen for real. But since they have actually happened and there are lots of news about this and all that stuff, it makes it way more intriguing. And these kind of series are actually trending a little bit. There are lots of other series which are doing exactly the same, but I think it's a good thing. Not all trends are bad, and by no means this is a bad trend. As I was also saying, the authentic feeling here is one of the main reasons. Also, they're like real characters. I'm like a little bit overlapping here with my reasonings because it seems that I cannot just get a hold of my own notes. So it's just not about the real genuine places or genuine people or genuine language or the genuine era of things. Everything these are very important when it comes to the magic of the series. So kind of the reason number 3 would be that this is giving you the feel of real Mexico, not just with the people, not just with the historical accuracy. Obviously, some points have been changed to create a kind of a good dramatic narrative, but they are all very important parts, and like I said, they are intertwining with them each other, so it's kind of hard to say like, oh, this is number 1, this is number 2, whatever. Number 4 would be the point that this is as much about the criminals as much as it's about the police. If you think of the classic, modern classic police crime TV series, The Wire, which is one of the best TV series ever, that also had this similar setup. They're criminals, but they are as much as the main characters, as much as the police are. So it's never about this old-fashioned way to do crime series when the criminals are just bad guys, kind of a faceless and kind of a boring or even idiotic and annoying characters, whereas the police are just, heroic and all that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, the police are the heroes of this story as well, but the way the criminals are portrayed, they are like more humane, they are more understandable creatures, not just some bad guys doing bad crap, shitty things. So it's more about trying to understand why they are doing and what they are doing, as much as it is about understanding the police here and their just bad job. I mean, it's not like they have all the tools and the right amount of people to just go and arrest all the people, and that would actually create a pretty boring story. If all these big cartels were just, overthrown by a handful of police, well, we wouldn't have this story in the first place, right? So it's very important that we have these both sides here. Not so much about regular people, it's mostly about just criminals and cops. And this creates a nice narrative for the whole series. And the last point might be also the least in this case, but I think it's worth mentioning. While original Naga series, like I said, it's about Colombian cartels and about mainly about cocaine, and this is mostly about marijuana. These two series actually they're kind of overlapping. So it's not like these are like first Narcos series, like episode, I'm sorry, season one, season two, season three, then Narcos Mexico season four. This is kind of a spin-off. So this is actually overlapping basically with season one and two. I'm not exactly sure at which point because I don't remember the exact years, but I'm just saying that doesn't really matter which order you actually watch these series. They still make sense because the time span is not linear here in the sense of these two different series being on the same line of time or whatever. So you can pretty easily just watch all the Narcos from season one to season three, and then start with Narcos Mexico, which I did. And while certain events take place, like it's a historical fact that Pablo Escobar died, well, it doesn't matter. You will still have some things here mentioned in the Narcos Mexico, which already happened in the late Narcos episode, and they still haven't happened with this particular series. So nice idea then to overlap these things. I won't spoil you. I tried not to spoil anything with the reviews or opinions about this series. But if you like Narcos, the Narcos Mexico is just must watch series. But I guess you already know that. Then again, if you didn't like the original Narcos, if you found it too boring, I think there's very little reason to watch Narcos Mexico. It's basically the same idea. It's kind of a spin-off. Nothing more, nothing less. And by the way, that's a pure compliment. I like the original Narcos very much, so this is something I liked almost as much as the original Narcos. So here are my 5 points, and I don't know what to add. Really, really great series. Hope you enjoy it. And the next in line, you might already guess, it's The Punisher. So let's get that started a bit later when I have actually watched it. See you soon and watch some quality TV. Bye bye.